I've always talked about how I was able to make my first real estate investment, even though my monthly salary was 40,000 naira at the time. But one thing I've failed to do is to talk about what truly inspired me to make that decision. It was a very important decision. In fact, it was a very significant decision to make at the time. But as life would always have it, there is something that would always push you. And if that thing doesn't push you, an external force, if it doesn't push you, sometimes an internal force based on what you may have gotten from external realities, right? And until that thing pushes you, you may never be able to make that decision. And in this particular video, I'm going to share with you that thing that significantly made it possible for me to make a very important decision that changed my financial life till this very moment. My name is Raymond Ejoma, and I am the lawyer that loves real estate. Or if you like, the real estate entrepreneur that uses law and real estate as a tool in building wealth for myself and my client. And I'm hoping that you are already my client, or from this video, you'll be able to begin to make certain important moves that will help in changing your life and, of course, become my client one way or another. This video is brought to you by Fortreal Rei Ltd, a real estate company right here in the city of Abuja. And together we bring you the very best of real estate. For us, it's not just about sharing investment opportunities with you. We also educate so that you know how to safely, strategically invest, having gotten inspiration to start your real estate investment journey. So let's get right into the conversation. So basically, just to lay a foundation for what I want to share with you, it happened a few years back that I was living in my Face Me, I Face You, and in that room I had my foam, small foam that if two people had to sleep on the foam, we have to sleep one person facing the other one, the other person facing the opposite direction, right? So it was a small bed, just a few things in the house, right? And while in that room, I had things I was dreaming about, but I knew that my salary could not do it for me, or what I was earning at the time could not do it for me. So I needed to ask very important questions like, what truly can make a man wealthy, right? And I started asking questions, and I needed to educate myself financially. And that was when I started reading books, and I stumbled on a book titled The Secret of the Millionaire Mind. The Secret of the Millionaire Mind. One thing I realized in that season of studying and trying to educate myself financially was that there was no book that on finance that you will literally not find a conversation about real estate in that particular book. So in that particular book, I started reading it, and literally it was changing my mind. And one significant question that was asked in that book was, what is your net worth? So let's look into some terms, right? First is, what is a net worth? When somebody says my net worth, what does it mean, right? And for you, the question is, what is your net worth? If you already know your net worth, then good. It means that you're on track. But if not, you really and truly need to watch this video to the very end, because this video, just like it changed my life, will definitely change your own life. And as a matter of fact, at some point in this video, you need to pause, or at the end of the video, you need to pause, sit down, and begin to look into your life financially. And by the time you are done, trust me, it's going to inspire certain decisions that can change your life forever. The first question is, what is your net worth, right? But again, let me add that this is not a financial class. This is basically for educational purposes. I'm going to keep things really simple in a way that anybody will understand it, even a layman will understand it. So when they say your net worth, they're simply talking about the sum total of what you are worth, right? Sum total of what you own, less of what you owe. In other words, every time somebody talks about your net worth, they have to talk about your liabilities as well as your assets, right? And looking at your asset on one side, your assets are basically things that you own, right? And things that on the other side bring in money to you, right? So those are referred to as assets. Of course, there are classes of assets or types of assets, but we're not going to go really deep. We're going to keep this really simple. So on one side, you have your assets. And by asset, we're simply talking about things that you own, right? And have a way of bringing money to you, giving back to you, not taking away. And on the other side, we have liabilities. And under the liability part, you have things that you possibly owe or are taking away money from you, right? In other words, simple examples, on this side of the asset, you have, say, your land, right? Your land or real estate investment is something that you own, and if it's not taking away money from you, then again, it is absolutely considered or exclusively considered as an asset. But if for any reason it is taking away money from you, then there is a question mark right there. However, by intent, real estate is meant to be an asset. In other words, it's meant to grow your income. But if it is doing the opposite, then it's a question mark, and that is a conversation for another day. However, liabilities are designed to take away. Liabilities are designed to be liabilities. In other words, they don't bring in, they only take. And one thing about life is that, financially, you have to always learn to look at things on both sides, both the liabilities and your assets. And at the end of the day, practical example, assuming your net worth is, or assuming your liability is 500 million and your asset is 400 million, it simply means that all things being equal, again, we're looking at this on a very simple basis. All things being equal, your liabilities are more than your assets. And that right there is considered as a negative net worth. On the other side, you have your asset at, say, 500 million naira, and your liabilities are running averagely on around 100 million naira. At that point, you have a positive net worth and you are good financially. Now, one thing you have to consistently, intentionally do every year, if you can, every 6 months, to put yourself in check, is to constantly reduce your liabilities and increase your assets. Now, life is what it is, and we cannot totally take away liabilities from our day-to-day realities. However, if you want to truly and intentionally build wealth, you must deliberately begin to look into building your assets. If not, you realize at the end of the day that you have more liabilities than you have assets. And the more liabilities you have, the poorer you will get. Because at the end of the day, if what is coming to you stops for whatever reason, you have nothing to fall back to, either by cash flow or by capital or by asset base. And that right there is poverty. In fact, you can maybe have good money coming around you, maybe by virtue of salary or even by business. And you are, even as a business person, I've said it before, I did a training sometime 2 weeks ago, the Business Growth Summit, and I was talking about how you are able to build a profitable business, and moving from just building a profitable business to building a business that can stand the test of time, both in terms of wealth and generally building wealth. So it's possible to have a profitable business and not be a business that is wealthy, right? So that has to be looked into. So beyond you having money to spend on liabilities and just taking care of yourself, you must intentionally, if you want to build wealth and be able to be proud of your net worth, you must intentionally reduce your liabilities and increase your assets. It is as simple as that. And one way to begin to reduce your liabilities and increase your assets is by reducing the liabilities. In other words, if you have 3 cars, why not reduce it to 2? If you have 2 cars, why not reduce it to 1 if you don't have need for it? And of course, by need, people have their preferences. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but I'm simply saying that if you want to build wealth, then you need to excessively cut down on your liabilities and increase your assets intentionally. In other words, instead of, somebody said that the poor and the rich do the same thing, it's just that they do it at different times. In other words, a poor man would earn 500 million naira, and then he spends it, and then when it's remaining 50 million, 20 million, he begins to look for something to do or put in the money to get back 20% or 100% in 1 month. That basically is Ponzi scheme, which is what even inspired me to do something. I think I'll talk about that in another video. At the time I started looking into finance as well, I fell into Ponzi schemes. So that's because of the kind of knowledge I had at the time, right? So while on the other side, a wealthy man would get the same 500 million naira and then be able to invest as much as 400, even 450, sometimes even more, and then begin to look into what else to put into the money as relates to expenses, doing the same thing but at different times. And again, that speaks to the issue of the fact that being poor, being rich is not necessarily about whether you have money or you don't have money. It's first a mindset thing, it's first an attitudinal thing, it's first a behavioral pattern, right? So if you truly want to build wealth, the first question you have to ask yourself right now is, what is my net worth? At the time, I asked myself that question. I calculated I had a laptop, I had a foldable wardrobe, I had a foam that I said two people cannot comfortably sleep on it. I had a standing fan, and basically that was it. I had my wig and gown as a lawyer, and my bag. These are the basic things I had. Gas cooker in the kitchen, basic things, right? And I looked at them. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm not owing anybody money, but at the end of the day, I wasn't really doing fine. It was that, looking at that, that I intentionally told myself that I was going to buy land at the end of that year. Thankfully, I'd been saving for long, and by the time I put in that money, I started looking back again. I realized that yes, I have indeed started building my net worth. And since that time, I have always, every year, invested in real estate, knowing that through real estate, I can properly build. I can build intentionally, I can build gradually to the point where I can truly consider myself sustainably wealthy. And just in case you're here listening to me thinking that real estate will just make you quick money, no. The truth about it is that real estate is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Rather, it is a get-rich for sure. You have to build gradually. You have to build intentionally. You have to build with knowledge, with strategy, if you truly want to build wealth. So in summary, before you end this video, important things you must do. Number one, ask yourself, what is your asset? Number two, at the end of every year, make sure you know your annual asset growth and annual liability growth. In other words, know how your expenses or what takes away money, how your liability grew for that year, and also know how your asset grew for that year. So again, make sure you know what is increasing your liabilities or reducing it, or what is increasing your asset or reducing it. If you are able to always consistently calculate this, look into these numbers at the end of every year, or if you can every 6 months, it will definitely help you to build wealth. If you can do this for 5 years consecutively and intentionally do those things that will increase your asset, particularly choosing to invest in real estate, trust me, in 5 years, you will come back to that small plot of land. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Raymond Ijama, and I am indeed hopeful that this video changes your life. This video impacts you one way or another. And if you can make a decision to start investing in real estate today, I'll really be glad. And you too will really be proud of yourself. My name is Raymond Ijama, and I am the lawyer that loves real estate. Or if you like the real estate entrepreneur, that is this law and real estate as a tool in building wealth for myself and my clients. And if you're interested in keen into real estate through Fortreal Rei Ltd, do reach out to the number showing on your screen. And don't forget to share this video with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and basically stay in touch with this family here where we are building wealth leveraging on real estate. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.